Hello everyone, how are you doing today? You're welcome to what's now should be your favorite talk show, Breaking Barriers. And this is where we spotlight icons, people who we say walk on water, so to speak. But what we also try to do is to celebrate their successes, which are notable, but also identify areas of their lives where they may have struggled or are struggling, but in spite of that, they are making tremendous progress. Today, I bring to you a wonderful lady who I met only earlier this year in February. February in Canada is celebrated as a Black History Month. And so I met her in Ottawa, where we typically gather together. And, you know, the person who introduced her was Nikki. I was like, okay, Nikki, I don't know. But I have since realized that she's worth celebrating. I'm presenting to you Nikki Clarke. Nikki Clarke is the founder and the CEO of the Nikki Clarke Talk Show. She's also a community activist. She recently released a book, so she's an author. I don't know if that's her only book, but we'll find out about that today. So you're welcome on board, Nikki. How are you today?
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. I am honored. And this is now my favorite show. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. The interesting thing for Nikki is that this must be a fairly unusual experience because she's used to be the one asking the questions. But I guess today you get to play the guests.
I get to be on the other side of the couch, so to speak.
Yes.
And yes, I get a little nervous. So I hope your questions are easy for me.
They'll be easy. So let's start with the first one. What, in your view, makes a good talk show? Given that you have tons of experience, what do you look out for when you host your events?
I love talk shows that resonate with me on a heart level. Okay. I like heart-centered conversations, conversations that matter. And that means topics that are relevant and also focused on moving humanity forward. You know, when people are speaking, they're offering their authentic experiences to help people become professionally or personally unstuck. So that's what I gravitate to.
That's good. I watched a little interview you granted not too long ago, and I learned there that you probably started around 2008. Is that correct? Or something along the lines. It was when you started your talk show. I don't know if that's true.
No, that's absolutely true.
Yes.
2008 is when I started. In my previous life, I was a college instructor in the Faculty of Early Childhood Education.
Wow.
And that same year, I encountered what I called the Divine Whisper. And the Divine Whisper reminded me of the passion that I had about storytelling and reporting and to create a talk show. Now, this interaction happened when I was maybe 12 years old, growing up in Montreal. I presented the idea to my parents, who are strict, disciplinarian, academically driven Jamaican parents.
I see.
And they weren't really too thrilled with the idea. So the professions that were offered to me were, you know, teacher, lawyer, doctor, but certainly not talk show host. So I kind of put that idea on the shelf and I pursued the teaching route.
Yes.
But 2008, the Divine Whisper came back and said, remember what your first dream was.
Wow.
And I said, Divine Whisper, go away. I'm happy right now in a safe corporate position, 9 to 5. I'm teaching these wonderful courses and it's helping me to sustain myself and also 3 children. And at that time I was, you know, divorced, single mom raising a family. And that was, you know, my bread and butter. And the Divine Whisper said, I shall return in another week. So it just came back and I said, well, I think I'm going to pray about it. After I prayed about it, the decision was made for me to take a leap of faith from teaching full-time and entering into the space of media. But I did it kind of slowly and gradually. I started the show online in a space before online became a big thing now for, you know, podcasters doing wonderful work. But I said, okay, let me start this show. And at the time, the show, I gave the title And the Beat Goes On. And it was to invite musical artists to come on the show and to share their talent live, perform live, and also to share their origin story. So there you go. It was launched October 2008 on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. So my online persona was Nick's on the Mix.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
So to invite people on the show, I would say, you know, Nick's on the Mix, come and keep it locked, 8 o'clock, and the beat goes on. So that's what happened. Monday to Friday, I was Miss Nikki Clarke. Saturday was Nick's on the Mix.
I see.
So in order for me to get guests, I had to find a way to get them on. So advertising was left to Facebook messages.
Okay.
So I would leave these, messages on my Facebook page, inviting people to come on. And I received a message from a young man named Abel, and he was about 19 years old. And he said, Miss Nikki, I'd love to come on your show. And I thought, okay, we'd love to have you. I did hear you perform, live in another space, but remember, it's live, so you have to be good. He said, not a problem. So he came on the show and he shared a little bit about his story, and he performed, and everybody's jaws dropped to the floor.
Wow.
Well, wouldn't you know, later, in about maybe 5-6 years, he would become The Weeknd. So what happened to me was a transformation. I recognized that through him, and other people who came through the show, they saw that this was a platform where they could come, feel safe, share their stories, and to have a community around them. And I had to make a decision. I couldn't teach and do the show well. So one had to, be kind of left for the other to thrive. So I gave up teaching.
Wow.
And started the show, took this huge leap of faith, not really knowing all the parts of production, but I just knew if I didn't try, I wouldn't know what was behind that wall of fear that I had, and most people don't enter into the unknown because of the fear of failure, all the other parts of, what could go wrong. I said, okay, it may happen, but I'm going to try anyway.
That's beautiful.
And 16 years later,
wow,
the good and the bad and the ugly I experienced, but no regrets, because it has become a community of conversations that matter. I hear from people who went on the show who were complete introverts, and we worked together, and I helped to pull out, the great personalities and their personas, and then they went on to start their own shows. And I'm happy to have mentored them into that role that they've taken on. Or I've met people in different kind of positions, different walks of life, and we've kept in touch. So I'm the type of person, I'm a lifer. As long as you want me around, I'll stay with you for life. And we've been able to grow together over the past 16 years, and I hope to keep growing for another 16. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, the first was about your experience as a talk show or a talk show host, and maybe talk show in general. But what has also become clear in your speech is that you're also a full-fledged entrepreneur. Do you see yourself as one? And what are your key learnings on the journey of entrepreneurship?
Yes,
because clearly,
I am. I am an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurship is not glamorous. The glamour that people may perceive might be maybe 5%, but the 95% is faith mixed in with a lot of tenacity and perseverance. And I can tell you, the first 5 years of entering into entrepreneurship, I would ask myself, what did I sign up for? Because it was really challenging, especially for a woman going into the media space at that time, and it's changing, but at that time it was very dominated by men. And coming in, I did experience some barriers where I wasn't taken seriously, and especially as maybe a woman of color, there was another layer of obstacle that I had to navigate through, but I did. And I learned my own way and created my own path. And someone said, well, when you're doing a talk show, like, who do you find? And I said, well, I think it's about building and people finding you. And I think that I have a niche of people. It may not be 1 billion views, but the messages are supposed to land in the right places and sow the seeds that need to be grown in the right garden. So that's why I do what I do.
So if you were to look back at your talk show, 16 years, is there one that stands out the best for you?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I've been inspired by so many, but there's one in particular of an 11-year-old girl who was fighting cancer.
I see.
And she came on the show, and she was so eloquent and so gentle in her demeanor. And I experienced so much courage just by her story. And she had so much gratitude despite the challenges that she was going through medically and so many other parts of, what cancer brings. And I said, no, if she can do it, she has inspired me to overcome. And yeah.
That's good. How long ago was this?
That was, I would say, 2015.
Wow.
Yes.
And you still remember today?
I still remember it today. She left such an impact upon me, and I believe the audience who listened to her. We did the show in front of a live audience in a restaurant in downtown Toronto. So I remember it was pin drop silence.
Wow.
And when she shared her story.
Viewers, apart from being a talk show host, Nikki is a community activist. She's been a politician. We'll get to learn more about this in the second half. See you around.
Thank you.
You're welcome back to your favorite show, Breaking Barriers, and we have the wonderful, delectable Nikki Clarke, who is a host of a talk show herself. She's been doing that since 2008, 16 years, and so that's very commendable. She shared her experience doing that. But back to February when I met her. I met her in Ottawa during the Black History Month, and I remember vividly that when she was introduced, she said, not politics, not politics. So what exactly were they referring to? It looks like you have another world. There's another side of you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for, that is a part of me that was very exciting to be a part of.
Okay.
And I was proud to be introduced into the sphere of politics. So in 2018, I ran for member of provincial parliament.
Okay.
And the following year, I ran for the federal position as member of parliament. So I was introduced to the idea by Andrea Horvath, who was at that time the leader of the opposition for the NDP.
Okay.
She invited me to her office at Queen's Park, and she said, we've been watching you, and we'd like to invite you to be a candidate for us to run in the next election. And I looked at her and I gave myself 20 seconds to say yes. And I said, okay, I'll figure out everything else. And I didn't have any kind of, at that time, political aspiration or the experience, but I just knew that this was another door and another opportunity for me to try to see how I could use my core values to help people. And to address some concerns I had, and to see how we could work together as a community to achieve those things. So I learned quite a bit as a woman running, and as a Black woman running, and some good stuff, some things like microaggressions, racial microaggressions, some misogyny, working in that kind of public eye, you get it all, but it's made me so much more thick-skinned, and I would do it again.
That's nice.
And I encourage anyone to run.
I was just going to ask you that. What's your take? Okay, so it was a good experience. Lots of lessons.
A lot of blessings, blessings and lessons mixed together. So definitely one that has transformed me. I've grown a lot from that experience, and I think I was able to touch some people in a very, positive way that they could try and to do the same thing in that sphere. So
Great stuff.
that's why I did it.
Great stuff. Great. So many of us, statistically, there are many of us who are immigrants. Are you an immigrant to Canada as well?
I am. I was born in Jamaica.
You were born in Jamaica?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're first generation.
I'm first generation.
So where did your journey start? Which part of the country did your journey start?
I started in Montreal, Quebec.
Montreal.
Yes.
I understand. I don't know if it's true for Quebec, but I hear that in France, if you don't speak French, you can't get far with doing a lot. Is the same? Was the same for you in Montreal?
And in the time that we arrived, in order for my parents to have landed status,
Okay.
they had to take a French course. I believe it's pretty much
Still
the same. So they came and they did their course, and within a week of graduating, they got a job. My
Wow.
mother in the teaching field, and my father in kind of the work he did as I would say a scientist. He was in a chemical plant.
So did you speak enough French at home for you to speak comfortably in French? Can you
Well, I grew up in a French neighborhood.
Okay.
We were the only Black and the only English family at the time in that neighborhood. So in order to get along, I had to learn very quickly. So being 4 years old, I think, 3.5, 4 when I arrived in Montreal, it was a lot of acclimatizing to winter and to the language and to a new culture and to make friends. And learning a new language meant like nonverbal. Like
Yes.
I would say, what is this in French? I'd point to my mouth, and then they would tell me the French word, and then I would repeat it, and that's how I kind of quickly learned the language. But not so much the language that is understood in class, but when you're, with friends outside of school, you learn that French, and that's what happened to me. So my parents spoke to me. I learned from connecting with friends, and then going to school. I had French classes, so I learned, structured French, the grammatical, all the good stuff. So I would say right now I am bilingual. I can
That's good.
flow into French in Montreal and flow out in English with
That's
ease.
good.
Yeah.
What did that teach you about resilience, being the only Black girl, as it were, growing up in Montreal? Because you were probably always the outsider, if or the minority.
Well, yes. For most of my classes, I was the only Black girl, and I did have some confrontational racist experiences. One where I remember I was almost 5 years old, and it was a Saturday afternoon, as I remember Saturdays were reserved to go to the grocery store, pick up our groceries, and come home. So that Saturday, I was coming out of my father's Pinto, and a little girl I didn't know just came up to me, and she started to kind of,
Really?
yeah,
What much?
punch, and and then she called me words that I didn't understand. And my parents were very upset. So that was kind of a reckoning for me to understand that at that time I was different. I didn't know I was different until that experience. And my father had to sit down very tearfully and explain to me what was going on in terms that I could understand as a 4.5. And he said that, you're very special, and we love you, and you're beautiful, but sometimes you would encounter people who would look at you and not understand, and because of the way you look or you speak differently, but you're going to be okay. So you're going to have to be very strong and to be excellent. So that set the bar for me going into school. I worked very hard to be excellent, and because I understood the scrutiny.
Yeah.
And the pressure. Maybe it was a lot for one child to take on, but I think I was just a very different child and a special child, that I understood the assignment very early. And also was groomed by a father who was very active in the Black community. The Black community in Montreal was not very big, but it was, I would say, synergistic and collaborative. And he said that, he could create a platform or create a group where Black business owners could come together and to lean on each other for support. And that's exactly what he did. In 1972, he co-founded the Black Business Professional Association
Just 2
of
years
Montreal.
after arriving in Canada.
Yeah, he's very, very forward-thinking. And so when you are the daughter of someone like that, you learn a lot. He introduced me to Marcus Garvey at a very early age.
Wow.
I was learning about Jamaican culture. I was also learning about Black Canadian history as well as what was going on in the States. He gave me books like Malcolm X to read and to learn more about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So there was kind of a download of a lot of information about the Black community. So by the time I was 15 and I met the Reverend Jesse Jackson through his organization,
Wow.
I think that kind of connected me to what my purpose was.
That's inspiring.
Thank you.
One other thing you do, from what I know, is that you're an author.
Yes.
And you recently released a book. Tell us about that.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited about my children's book. It's my first children's book called The Paperclip Princess.
Okay.
And it's about 11-year-old Keisha, who discovers her talent of making jewelry out of paper clips. And she presents it to her friends and her students and her colleagues at school, and they all love it. So the book is about encouraging young entrepreneurs to recognize that the talents they have can actually create a livelihood for them, and it's okay. And there's also, there are words in there that are introduced to help young readers to understand business terms like marketing, website, that kind of thing. So it's all about the young entrepreneur. Mm-hmm.
When was it released? This year or last?
It was released Juneteenth, purposely to connect with that period of time. And I'm happy to say that it's a great reception. The book right now is in 3 Indigo bookstores, one in Windsor, Belleville, and the other one in Burlington, Ontario, and others are confirming their interest. And I've been going to different book signings and really happy about that. I was recently at the Amersfoort Freedom Museum, which is a Black museum, and I had great reception. People bought the book. It was actually sold out. So I'm really encouraged to, expand my connections so people can have access to the book, and to also to bring it to the school boards. That's my next step, to say that this could be teaching material for young business owners, from any background. They need the encouragement, because I had a great mentor, a father who was a businessman. So, yeah.
So what's next for Nikki as we round up?
What's next for me?
What should we look out for beyond the book? The more talk show, obviously, but is there
more talk show, and also I am working with the World Travel Trade and Taste Expo. It's an organization out of Switzerland. We are collaborating in this 2-day conference at the Metro Convention Center in Toronto, May 30th and 31st. So I will be leading some conference sessions on women empowerment, as well as ecotourism in Zanzibar and Ghana. So looking forward to that, and some more projects. There's another one, Canada, Africa conference on trade and investment that I'm involved in as well. And that's August 4th and 5th at the Toronto Airport Marriott Hotel.
Wow.
So bringing communities together.
Sounds good. Sounds interesting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nikki.
I appreciate you.
Show.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot to know about you, and I welcome you all. Visit her website. What's your website? Your website?
Sure. It's NikkiClarkeNetwork.com.
And then watch her show after watching this one. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. That's
Thank you
it,
so
folks.
much.
Bye for now, and stay watching. Thank you.